Non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication. As we said, you speak with your body. You speak even when you are quiet. So you speak through your facial expressions. You speak through your gestures. You also speak through what you call paralinguistic, how loud or the tone of your voice. You speak with your body language. You speak with what you call proxemics or your personal space. How much space are you giving somebody? You speak through your eye gaze, the haptics, the touch, the appearance. How do you look? And you also speak through the artifacts. So when you come to facial expressions, they are responsible for a huge proportion of what you call nonverbal communication. So consider how much information can be conveyed through a smile or a frown. The look on a person's face is often the first thing we see, even before we hear what they have to say. Someone said one time there was some restructuring happening in a company. So one time the CEO came with a very long face in the morning. The previous week they had just laid off a couple of people. And so people were a bit conscious. And when they saw him in a long face, and it's on a Monday morning, somebody asked or commented, are we going to have some more people being laid off this week? So, especially if you are a leader, your facial expressions are the first thing that we see and we interpret. It could be wrong interpretation, but we do interpret. And we can make conclusions which could be wrong. So when you talk about haptics, it is the touch. Touch can be used to communicate affection, familiarity, sympathy, and other emotions. Touch is also used to communicate status and power. I have seen in our African context, people love shaking their hands. There's a community in Kenya called the Maasais. The elderly, when they are meeting the younger ones, they like placing, or rather they normally place their hand on the top forehead here as a form, and then the person who is being touched here, they'll bed, and then they'll be touched here. So it's a form of communication in form of a greeting. High status individuals tend to invade other people's personal space. They are known to do that with greater frequency and intensity than lower status. If you see when President Trump was elected the first time, his handshake used to be a bit awkward. He would shake the hand of even presidents. I've seen him shake the president, the Prime Minister of Canada, Trudy. Is it true? His name, you remember him? He would shake them and then pull them in. And you know, we are told when you pull somebody in, they lose their balance. And more or less, you open an opportunity for you to influence them. So haptics, the touch also depends with sexual differences. Women are known to use touch to convey care, concern, and nurturance. Men normally touch to assert. That's why to assert power or control over others. That's when you see President Trump shaking and pulling somebody in, or they do what you call the beer hug. Yeah, normally those beer hugs are supposed to portray an element of power and control. So haptics, the touch element, also does communicate non-verbally. We also say that the other thing that communicate non-verbally is the linguistics, how loud or low your voice is. Are you being audible? Are you all? I told you last week, one of the senior person who was speaking in the AGM, as they started off, they were not audible. And people say, the volume, we can't hear you. Or how is your tone coming along? That also has impact on nonverbal communication. The appearance. People say, or there is an English saying that says, do not judge the book by its cover. But there is a tendency when you are speaking to people for them to judge you on how you look, your appearance, and pigeonhole you. This one is going to be a lousy communicator. This one is going to be depending on how you appear. So make sure you are on point. Make sure your appearance is not distracting. Make sure that everything is in place. And that is key for it's a non-verbal cue of communication. Maybe the other non-verbal cue of communication is things that you have around yourself, the objects, the images. Maybe you are doing a presentation. Is it too crowded? Maybe use more of images because nowadays people fear PowerPoint presentations. So more of images. If you have a video here, one or two, but not a very long one, short, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes maximum. Those accompaniments, the artifacts, the object, the things we can touch, maybe even your diary or your notebook, like one of the speakers who spoke in the last AGM that I was speaking about. We had an AGM in one of the schools, and the speaker who came there, he came with some notes, a very big pack of notes. Now, that particular pack of notes, when you see notes that have been made a speech of this, people will be asking, when is this one going to get finished? So don't show people the notes so they don't know how far you are going. And then, of course, the other non-verbal um, element is what you call proxemics, or the personal space. The amount of personal space needed when having a casual conversation with another person can vary. We normally told is about 18 inches to about 4 feet, depending on communities, countries. In the West, they tend to give more distance. People tend to want to, especially in Europe, European countries. But I'm told in America, the America, people want to talk more closely. When you go now to the East, Far East, you're talking about Japan, China, India, those countries. Again, people want more space. They want to have some space around them. So learn the space, the proxemics, because they influence the non-verbal communication. Remember, words can hurt or heal. So even what you don't say, what you are saying by your body can also hurt or they can heal. So what is your body telling us today? All the best.